One day, when I was very, very little, my first big challenge. It was my first year of school, and I had just learned about something terrifying known as the test. This was a very stressful situation that was life or death, and I had never experienced it before. I was so nervous, I couldn't control my tiny little nerves and started bawling on the floor. When my parents finally picked me up, they gave me an ice cold towel to wipe away my tears. Almost magically, I felt so much better. The gut wrenching feelings were gone and replaced by a sense of acute alertness I had never experienced. All these years later, I still remember the situation vividly. The feeling of the icy cold towel was still touching my skin. So I decided to do some research, as any good student would do, and I found out cold water, believe it or not, activates an ancient survival gene in your body called the diving instinct. It reduces anxiety and makes people feel calm. This is because our ancestors needed this gene to not drown. Hooray! There are plenty of ancient genes that help us along the way that we didn't get eaten by saber-toothed tigers or outcompeted by the Neanderthals. For example, have you ever heard of the gene of discovery, the gene of bravery? Anyone? I see you don't recognize it, but you probably have heard of this gene because today it is known as the ADHD gene. In fact, ADHD stands for Attention Deficit and Hyperactivity Disorder. So, how does a gene that used to make us brave now give us a mental disorder? Let's understand what is ADHD and how the evolution of our society, specifically our schools, plays a big role in stigmatizing ADHD and what we can do to help. First, when people hear about ADHD, they think of a kid who's restless. He can't stop moving, he can't sit still. But these are just common stereotypes. In fact, there are over 27 different types of ADHD, and many of them don't manifest themselves into restless behavior. Some of them are well hidden until adulthood. For example, a lot of adults have reported that they are unable to complete any work. They couldn't discover they had ADHD because their childhood showed no symptoms and they had a perfect childhood. Because of this memory, they couldn't believe that they had ADHD when they grew up. And adults say that it's just stress. In fact, the ADHD gene activates because it's trying to protect you from the stress, which sounds crazy enough. Despite all these different types being different, they all make one thing in common. They make you more creative, more imaginative, but also more prone to distractions. You see, the ADHD gene, for millions of years, they were explorers, the rule breakers, and the pioneers in science and social changes. Yet today, they become the troubled kid. What changed? I believe ADHD is very much misrepresented in society. Nowadays, society evolved around rules, one type of learning, and our society expects kids to learn following this strict path. Don't believe me? Just look at all the kids who can sit still at desks and completely listen to teachers talk for hours on end. Like, come on, who can actually do that while having fun? These types of students usually memorize through phonetic memory or memory by hearing. However, ADHD kids develop memory very much differently. It's called kinesthetic memory, memory through interaction and through touch. As an ADHD and gifted student myself, I found myself in a very talented school. This school pushed people super hard, and I had a lot of high difficulties with my assignments. I didn't know I had ADHD until I was around 12. So I always wondered, was it something about me I did wrong? In fact, 94% of ADHD kids don't receive a diagnosis until at least 10 years old. This leaves these kids to experience insecurities from a young age. They might be wondering, why can't I focus? Why can't I remember things others can? Why am I worse at this? So, now you know a little bit about ADHD and how it can be used in today's school. What are we going to do about it? In my humble opinion, First, society needs to represent these ADHD kids better by telling them it's okay, you can't focus. You're not terrible, you're normal. They should help these kids feel more normalized and not outlandish and not develop insecurities about themselves. Next, I will address the parents. One way or another, you all have some of the biggest problems while teaching these kids. I know it's not your fault, but these kids are usually left with insecurity since some parents put a lot of stress on them that they think a normal person can tolerate. And in time, the parents themselves have to deal with equally amounts of insecurities and thinking, am I not able to teach these children? Did I do something wrong? Am I a bad parent? And I want to tell you that is not the case whatsoever. ADHD kids are extremely hard to deal with, and in 90% of the cases, they can end up breaking up the family. But this doesn't mean that ADHD kids are only trouble. In fact, some of the most amazing people in the world, like Bill Gates and Elon Musk, they're all ADHD because one thing ADHD kids do have is the ability to think of ideas, be creative, think outside of the box, and make their own ideas come true. Finally, parents, please remember, if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will believe its whole life as it's stupid. Instead, why not cherish the fish for the ability to swim? Of course, this doesn't mean you should let these little people do whatever they want. That's how you can ruin them. You need to teach them how to develop discipline, how to make sure that they know they might be different, but they can always be better. And it's not like they will get special privileges. We should just show them reasonable breadth and find the best learning style suited to them. And lastly, for all you kids out there, if you believe you have ADHD, fear not. ADHD might get you into some trouble, but as long as you believe in yourself and take time to learn some important life skills such as time management, patience, and the ability to refocus, you're set in life. When you grow older, you will find your disadvantage turn into an advantage. You'll be able to work with creativity and bravery and make your dreams come true. Thank you.